Hi, Joey. Come on in here. Have a seat. I've got a couple more questions to answer for you this week. Actually, this week we have 4 questions, and oddly enough, they all came from one person. So I'll call them Joe M. Joe knows who he is. So I'll just start with Joe's questions. He says, I'm fresh out of college. Should I buy a house? Should I buy a condo? How do I even know how much I can afford? I think he's insinuating, should I also stay living with mom and dad? It's free. Everything's great. Joe, I'll tell you what. First thing you need to do is you need to call a lender. And you've seen we've had John Charlton on here a lot, answering different questions and that type of thing. But call a lender and kind of find out how much you can afford. My suggestion is you call him and you say, here's how much of a monthly payment I'm comfortable with, and then let him tell you how much of a house that is and make sure that they can give you the loan for that. But should you buy a house? Should you buy a condo? If we would sit down and have our buyer's consultation meeting, I'd ask you a lot of questions. I think sort of leading questions that would help you figure that out. Both of them have different benefits. If you want to have a property to maintain and take care of things, do you like mowing the lawn? Do you like fixing and updating stuff? Those type of questions will go into deciding if you should buy a house or a condo. Do you travel a lot? All this type of stuff. So let's have a meeting and actually talk about that. You say, I have a friend who's going to move in with me. How do I know how much rent to charge him? And that's a good question. We get that a lot. I think a lot of people just assume that they should just, if they're buying a property and they have a friend moving in, they assume that they should just split all the bills with their roommate. So, if their mortgage is going to be $1,000, they often just have the roommate pay $500. And, if that makes you happy, I guess that's fine. To me, that doesn't exactly seem fair to the home buyer or the tenant, I guess, because if I'm the home buyer and I've been saving money for the last 10 years and I put down a 20% down payment on the property, well, now my monthly payment is a lot less. And so, why should my tenant, my buddy, whatever, why should he have to pay less rent because of my saving for the last 10 years or whatever? I had that second job type of thing. So what we would encourage you to do is figure out what the actual kind of fair rent is in the area, and then basically charge your roommate or your friend that for the rent. Of course, unless that's less than what half your mortgage payment is, then you should charge them half your mortgage payment, of course. So, okay, next up, do I have to call the sign that's in the yard? Well, Joe, I guess you didn't listen to last week's questions, did you? But that's okay. So do I have to call the sign that's in the yard? No. So again, one of the things that you'll find when we meet and we have our buyer's consultation meeting is that we really don't want you to call the sign in the yard. It's best if you see a house that you like, that you call your agent, and that way I can get you information about the property. That way I can ask the listing agent any sort of questions that we might have, and I can show you the property, and you don't have to deal directly with the listing agent at all. So last question. I was looking at a house that was bought or built in 1950. Should I be worried that it will fall down soon? It's an interesting question. I never would have thought of that one myself, but I guess I would say no. It's not like a car, or it's not like a furnace, I guess, that eventually they have kind of a useful life. A house can last forever, essentially, if it's maintained properly. I actually showed a property a few days ago that was 194 years old. It was down in the Compton Heights area, 194 years old, and it looked like it was in great condition. So they'd updated a lot of things. They'd updated the furnaces, obviously, the kitchen, the bathrooms, all this type of stuff. So if a house was built in 1950 and nothing's ever been done to it, you might be concerned that you're going to have to do some updates and do some fixes to it and maybe buy some new systems and that type of thing, but not that it's necessarily going to fall down soon. It has really just as much of a chance as falling down soon or having structural problems probably as any property that was built in 1900 or a property that was built yesterday. We have to look at it property by property. So, all right, that's all my questions for today. Thank you very much. Please don't forget to submit your questions to podcast@hermanlondon.com or just give me a call, Adam Kruse, 314-210-5115. Thank you very much, and take care.